All right, we're trying this again. Everybody's out there. Let's see what we got. Hopefully somebody else can pop in. What's going on, guys? I think I've borked it this time. I really do think I've borked it. And that's a bummer if I have, because it would have been fun to hang out a little bit and chit-chat, quite frankly. So what's going on? If anybody's watching right now, give me a heads up. Let me know if you're there. I'm trying to figure out if my audio is good. I had to kill a stream just a minute ago, then fire up a second stream. Hopefully we've got a couple viewers. But let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? And if so, give me a heads up. Yang Yang, hey, Brian, Check Encoder, Steve Koss here. Brian, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is everything okay, or are we bad? Static's still there. We don't care. The audio is a bit. At the beginning, it sounded fine. Now a lot of distortion. Ah, freak. Okay, just bear with me. I'm going to try one thing on the encoder per Brian's advice. It might be that there's a filter on there that needs to be taken off, so bear with me. Maybe turn your volume down so I don't blow anybody's eardrums out, but let me see here. Go to filters. Actually, I could try to add a noise filter. There are no filters on right now. How about noise suppression? We'll just put that on there. So how's that sound? Is that any better? I think, Christian, you hear me? Okay. Freaking static. I don't know what the story is. I've got an issue, I think, with no, my internet speed's good. I'm hardwired right into the Ethernet, so I've got good speed. My voice is crystal clear. I'd rather have a stream with bad audio than no stream at all. Thank you. That's really cool. Best now. So is it sounding good? Is it sounding, did I fix it, or is there still a lot of static? Because this is driving me nuts. I've got this ART preamp. It's a tube preamp, two-channel tube preamp. And I replace the tubes every once in a while. I replaced them probably a couple months ago. But I've been noticing static in the line. It's now better. Hey, NWA Saba, what's going on? How's things going in Iran, buddy? Low static. Okay, less static. Well, guys, I don't know what to say. I've got to figure this out because I think it's time for a new preamp. I think that's what's adding the noise into my system. I've noticed it in other recordings, etc., and it's not cool. What I did is I just switched over to another channel on that preamp, but I'm wondering if this thing's seen better days. So we'll check it out. It's better. All right, and there still is some noise coming off the laptop, the fan on the laptop, but I moved that away so that it's not right on the mic like it was before. It's okay. Let's start. Yeah, Stefan, I could use another mic. I'd have to get set up. It would take me another few minutes to do that, and yeah. So you closed the office, NWA. You're working from home for the last 3 weeks. Yeah. So how many people? We're talking coronavirus today. How many people are affected by this? First of all, anybody in the live stream have the virus? Is anybody here sick? And if so, please don't cough on us. But does anybody have the virus? Has anybody been experiencing that? Hey, Ara, you joined. What's going on, man? Don't worry about. Hi, good to see you, man. Hopefully everything's going well in your neck of the woods. I won't disclose where you're from, but I know where you are. At least I don't know where you are right this moment, but I know where you're from. Yeah, so is anybody here struggling with it? Do they have any loved ones that have the coronavirus? It's been really weird, and this isn't supposed to be a conspiracy stream, but I'm not seeing any interviews of anybody with the actual virus. You have to dig pretty hard to find interviews, to find people that actually have it. So, and you go, well, yeah, the news media doesn't want to get infected, but they could do Skype interviews. They could get somebody on a remote, get them on the screen and tell us, about your sickness. I kind of feel like they don't want to do that. I mean, I know that this thing is lethal. I know that people are dying. I've got some folks that I'm concerned about that I love that are a little, compromised. But on the other hand, I think like if we really see this thing face to face, maybe it's not as lethal or scary as the news wants us to believe. I don't think there's a conspiracy, but it sells airtime and it sells advertising when everyone's glued to that television. Yeah, you remember, Anonymous remembers the good old times when a sneeze was normal. Absolutely. Christian says, no, please. What do you mean, Christian? No, please, what? And then Stefan says, not sure, yes. Had 4 girls flacking this week due to COVID. Many places are closed in Munich. Okay, very interesting. Yeah, we're shutting down. Like, my daughter is in college, she's in university. They're shutting down. She's coming home in a couple days. She's a resident assistant and RA, so she's staying there to help everybody get sorted out before she comes home. But she's coming home, and they're finishing the whole school year remotely. She's going to be living at home and finishing the school year. Kind of a heartbreak for her and her friends. Stefan, not sure. Let's see. Oh, you said that already. Brian, sales numbers tanked. 84% of plan down. 70% from 2 weeks ago. Restaurant industry is getting murdered. Yeah, oh my gosh. Restaurant industry has to be just brutalized right now. People are terrified, so they're not going to sit in a restaurant. They're afraid of who's touching their food. They're afraid to be in a room with somebody else. I can't imagine. Pions with 0, what's going on, my friend? Czech TV had Skype interviews with people. So tell me, what was that like? Is it like, were people on their deathbed on ventilators, or these people with the flu? I mean, obviously it can affect people in so many different ways. You could have it and not even have symptoms. I mean, you could be a carrier. You could get brutalized by it. You could feel like you've got a bit of a low-grade fever and a stuffy nose. I mean, it can hit you in so many different ways. I think one of the things that's tough right now is there's so many different voices out there. And I'm not trying to add to this discussion, so I'm not an expert on COVID-19 or 17 or 20. I'm just not an expert, not a health professional. But the thing is, there's so many voices out there, and you kind of ask, well, what should the news be talking about? What should the governments be doing? What should employers be doing? And there's a lot of critique. And here's the tough thing. This is one of those circumstances where really you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. There's not anything that a government, an institution, a workplace, a community, etc., can do that is going to be perfect. I thought of the case of my daughter's college being shut down. And you say to yourself, oh, this is overreacting, and they're sending these guys home, and this is ridiculous. But the thing about that is, if the university says, look, we're not going to overreact, we're just going to keep the kids here. Now, she's in a rural area. There's not a hospital nearby. It's a small university in a rural area. So let's say that campus gets hit with this thing pretty hard. Now they've got all these sick kids. Every parent in America, if your kid's at college and they're really sick and you're scared and it's an epidemic, you're getting in the car and you are going to get your kid. You're not going to just leave your kid. So if the college says, look, we're keeping the kids here, we're not releasing them home, they're going to have a flood of angry parents criticizing them. Why are you keeping my daughter, my son? They're sick. I'm coming to get them. I'm storming the gates. On the other hand, and God forbid something happens where a kid really gets sick and has serious long-term damage, or worse yet, dies. And that could happen. So on that level, you go, they can't do that. But on another level, they send everybody home. People are saying, oh, they're overreacting. This is ridiculous. What about all these other students that are from overseas? And I feel like the college can't win. It's the same thing for the government. No matter what they do, they can't win. This is one of those things where you do the best that you can and you have to ride it out. You just do the best that you can and you have to ride it out. I mean, what else can you do? Let's look at some comments here. Yeah, so Pions with 0, Czechoslovakia has a nationwide quarantine. That's good. All is getting murdered for sure. Theaters, bowling alleys, but still see many cars at Planet Fitness. Yeah, that's right. Who wants to be on one of those sweaty workout machines with some coughing, snotty workout bro, some weightlifting bro? Not me. And people don't use their head. They got to get that workout in. Doesn't matter how they feel. Yeah, restaurants are closed. Stefan, flaking equals cancel a date. Oh, yeah, flaking out. We would say flaking out. Gotcha. Pions with 0 was people with flu-like symptoms, 20-year-olds, so it's not so tough for them. Likely. You would think not. I mean, at 20 years old, you think you're pretty healthy for the most part. Most people are. Christian says, crazy is that Bill Gates in 2015, after Ebola outbreak, did a lot of lectures warning about this. No one cares. Well, that's the other thing. I wanted to do a video on this whole thing 2-3 weeks ago, and I just didn't do it. I felt like there was all this noise. I even said, I think, on a live stream, oh, I'm doing a video on the coronavirus. The thing that struck me, there's the health issue. There's the concern of what are governments and non-government entities doing in laboratories that if it were to get out, can't be controlled. I mean, this is a huge thing. If some kind of virus in a lab gets out, it could wipe out the human race. It's the stuff of science fiction, but we're capable of killing ourselves as a race right now. And so I thought about that, but on the other hand, I thought about, you've got this whole global supply chain, and I'm not anti-globalism when it comes to the economy. I'm not against it. But we've got this global supply chain that we're just so connected to each other in good ways, but also ways that are bad. We're so interdependent that one thing can take the whole system down. And I thought this virus is a good example. We've been talking, you're right, like Bill Gates said for years, that this is an issue. We should be doing something. I guess the other question is, though, what do? How do you prepare for these kinds of things? What is it that a society has to do? Jaco, whatever. I can't, let me just hold the fort here. Buddy, I am so thrilled that you are on this stream. Now, I love everybody on this stream, but when I saw that you subbed to the channel a while back in the Tesla video, I subbed back. I watch your videos every freaking day, man. I love them, and it's an honor to have you here. I saw you were in the U.S. in New York recently. I missed out on that, but welcome. Glad to have you. But anyway, the only thing is to stay home. So are you going to be staying home, Jaco, or are you going to be creating content from home, or are you just going to put your channel on hold for a little while? What's your plan? I haven't watched videos in a couple days, so I'd be curious if you've got some kind of plan. But yeah, you got to essentially, just separate yourself from the society for a while until this thing blows over. Yeah, and Ara's agreeing. It's just logic and common sense. I mean, a lot of this, the problem I find is there's just so much fear, and the fear isn't always direct. Like the media, we can blame the media for a lot of things. I love blaming the media. They're one of my favorite whipping boys. But one of the things I noticed, my wife and I went out to get some coffee and some groceries just to stock up for the week, just normal stuff. And on the way, we were listening to the radio, and there was some news story. It was NPR, which is National Public Radio here in the U.S., and they were talking about, so the journalist said, hey, I'm at this secret location. I'm not allowed to say where, but it's a U.S. government supply depot where we stockpile stuff, like consumable goods and things that are necessary in times of emergency. And we have a number of these across the country in undisclosed locations. Now, that is not a fear-mongering story. But when you contextualize that story in today's situation, and you start talking about secret government stockpiles of supplies, I could feel my own stress levels going up listening to that stupid story. So the thing is, there's this effect where we get fearful, and at the end of the day, there's some things we cannot control. I can't control if I'm going to get this COVID-19 or not. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get it or not. And if I do, I'm in my early 50s, relatively healthy, pretty good looking if looks fight against disease. But what can I do? And so I've been kind of shutting off some of the media, using common sense, social distancing, etc. But I've been shutting off the media because it's like, you know what? I got a life to live, and I don't know what else can you do? Let me take a look here. There's something fishy about this virus. I would agree with that. There is something fishy about it. It came out of Wuhan, China, where they've got their I don't know if it's like a military lab, but they've got a lab where they work on, chemical warfare weapons. I don't know what it is, but they got something going on there. I don't know if it was coming from somebody eating bat soup or whatever they were saying. Let's see. Pines with 0. This is just a detail, but Czechoslovakia split in 1992. Did I say something wrong? So you said, Czech Republic. I said Czechoslovakia. Oh my goodness. I'm showing my age. Czech Republic. I apologize. And one of your Czech players is on my favorite team, Barcelona. I don't know for very long. Maybe he's moved already, but But Ivan Rakitic, great Czech player, and of course Modric and so on. I apologize for that, man. Yeah, I'm still living in the Cold War, guys. Let's see. Oh, Ian Letard, welcome, my friend. We're still prepped for Y2K, so we should be okay. That's right. Everybody, fill your bathtubs up with water. And I started looking at least at my gun collection. Like, do I put the shotguns at strategic places at portholes so I can fend off the hordes that want to steal my my basement full of raviolis? This is just nuts. I look, it is a real thing, and it's going to be tough. Some people are already dying. More people are definitely going to die. People are panicking. I think the concern here in the U.S. is that they're going to overwhelm our already strained healthcare system, and so that there are some issues. But on the other hand, I think that it's for the majority of people, it's not going to be as bad health-wise as we're seeing. I think the economic hit is going to be what's brutal, I think, for almost all of us. We'll have to take a look at that. Let's see, NWA Saba. I was always interested in Solar City and Tesla batteries idea for off-grid concepts, some kind of apocalypse stuff. But now just Tesla Model X anti-bio mode and multi-planetary phenomena told by Elon. Yeah, we're going to get there whether we want to or not, right? Dystopia is coming. Jaco, half of the team stays home. We work half day and did not decide what to do video-wise. What do you think? It's kind of hard to do futile things while people suffer, but at the same time, content for them. Yeah, you know, Jaco, the thing is, I get what you're saying. Like, this is a serious time, and you have these projects that are kind of whimsical or futile, as you say, and they seem, you know, maybe when you contextualize them in what's going on, that they're maybe frivolous. But there's also, people need to be engaged. They need to be distracted a little bit. And as long as it's respectful, your stuff's always respectful. You're never mocking anybody. You're not making light of human suffering. And the other thing is, I think, you know, part of why we like watching, at least for me, why I like watching your content, I like watching you. I'm not as handy as you are. I'm not half as handy as you are. But I just love your on-camera personality. I love the humor and the edits and some of the comments that you make. And so I think, you know, being there for people, if you can do it, I'm not saying you owe it to your audience, but I think making stuff to give people something to kind of latch onto and to distract them and maybe give them something a little bit more wholesome and useful than watching the news 24 hours a day, I think that's a blessing to the audience. And, you know, like I said, you've got the right personality and attitude. You could pull it off in a way that I think people wouldn't find it offensive, and you can address it. You can say, hey, look, it's a tough time right now, but I want to focus on this and give you something to put take your mind off things. So that's my opinion. But again, I think it also boils down to how easy is it for you to put stuff together, you know, based on, you know, you've got this amazing shop, but if you're not able to get in there like you want to, you know, then what do you do? So good stuff. We do get fearful, says Ara. I'm disciplined to read the headlines only for a few minutes in the morning. That's it. It's probably a smart move. You know, I'm wondering, like, obviously Netflix is going to do great with some of this and the other streaming services. Will people start reading books more? Will they just, like, be quarantined and say, I'm going to read a book? I don't know. The Anonymous says the media is the dude that stirs the pot with a random situation. Stop watching the news, and it's funny how the virus just disappears. Fear and emotional stress also isn't good for the immune system. No, I would agree with that. Jaco, thank you, man. Thank you. I'm thrilled that you're here. I love your content, so it's I love that you do it. And it's hard work. I have trouble putting one video a week out, and you're putting out one every day. It's fun stuff. So I think this whole thing, the fear piece, is huge. Clearly, you get to see how groupthink takes over. You know, I don't know what it's like in the European or Middle Eastern or other stores, but in the stores in the U.S., like, you walk through the aisles and it's like a bomb went off. You know, you can't buy it. The toilet paper's gone. All the canned goods are gone. People are just panicking like they're going to have to hunker down for 6 months, just like they did for Y2K, like Ian said. And yeah, look, you might have to stay in your house, but this, you know, I just think people are overreacting. And they're saying, like, psychologists are saying, people are buying toilet paper because it's big. So when you, like, walk out you get this big thing and you pay for it and you walk out this big physical thing, it just makes you feel better, like, I'm doing something real to combat this situation. I don't know if I buy that. I mean, it makes sense. I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but yeah, man. So Pi Ends with Zero asks, Mike, how far do you expect the bear to go in the U.S. as a result of Corona? So far, the indices seem to be correcting. Yeah, that's my biggest concern. I mean, I don't mean to say that all I care about is the money. I think, look, we've had pandemics sweep humanity for many years, bubonic plague, the Black Death, the Spanish flu. We've had these things that, and in respects to my Spanish friends, Spain, one of the greatest countries, a beautiful, beautiful country. I don't know why they named it the Spanish flu, but it is what it is. You know, human beings have been dying. We've been doing this dying thing for forever since we've been on the face of the earth. It's not a small thing. It's a sad part of our life experience that we have to pass away at some point, whether through tragedy or through old age. But the big thing here for me is the economic impact. And why I say that isn't to say the economic piece matters more. People dying matters more. Life is sacred. For me, life is sacred. But the way that people are reacting is what is affecting the economy. I mean, I get it. There's ripple effects and we can't control the masses, et cetera. But the more people get wound up, the more fearful they get. You know, all of our economies, you talk about the global economy. It's not just the American economy. It's based on confidence. It's based on confidence. And if investors aren't confident and companies aren't confident and consumers aren't confident and the general population and the government and everybody else is not confident, if there's fear, it just shuts down. And this isn't one of those things where, you know, when you physically get ill from this, let's say you're in your 30s, you physically get ill, you're like me in the 50s or so on, you get ill and you bounce back. It's whether it's an easy or a rough ride, you make it through. It takes you a week, 3 weeks, whatever. You come out the other end, you're a little tired, you're a little weak, but you're able to kind of rebuild and get your life on track. And within a few weeks, you look back and you hardly remember. You go, oh yeah, remember I was sick? You don't even think about it. But the economy takes the hit. The impact is so much longer, so much longer. I mean, it takes forever. It could take years to correct the damage done by this. And so my concern, my fear is just that people get so wound up on this that we score an own goal. We score against ourselves. We self-inflicted wounds. Not that everybody should be out there spending frivolously or wasting money just to keep the economy going. I'm not saying that. But the fear causing us to kind of pull in, shut down. We could be level-headed about this. We could say, look, work from home. Don't go to big social places. Let's shut things down for a few weeks. But let's keep confident and positive about who we are as communities, as nations, as societies. We've got can-do spirit. We can help each other. The problem I think is, and I'm rambling a little bit here, but the problem I think is, oh, the static just stopped. That's great. Yeah, Brian, good thing that you subbed to Jaco. He is awesome. He's awesome. And I know I sound like a fanboy, but I'm sorry. You're just, I love your content. Anyway, so the thing about, I don't even remember what I was saying now. Now I've lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me in a moment. So let's just take a look here. Anonymous, also love your content, Mike. I've been here ever since the Cybertruck video, and honestly, you've got me interested in marketing. Hey, that's cool, man. I'm really glad to hear that. I want to be doing a lot more marketing, branding content, some strategy content. I've been working on trying to get some of that stuff queued up. And by the way, Maya is here. Maya, hello. Your school just closed for 2 weeks. Yeah, see, do you not have to do any homework? Or are they closed? So Maya's in high school, junior high school, I think right now. Are you guys just closed and no school, or do they give you assignments that you got to work on for 2 weeks until this blows over? I'd be curious to know about that. Neon Banana, what is up, my friends? I sell appliances in Australia. We've gone from selling 1 or 2 freezers a week to 40 a day for the last 3 days. Madness. I'm just bummed they canceled the Formula One. Yeah, are you in Melbourne? I've got a buddy in Melbourne, and that's the Formula One race in Melbourne every year is just fantastic. And he told me that it got canceled. It is kind of bonkers. You guys are getting hit pretty hard. Being an island doesn't help anymore, does it? It used to be if you were an island, you were in great shape. So static stopped. I'm glad to hear that, Christian. Thank you. Alexander, welcome. Alexander Capital. I love my live streams. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I want to do more. Omar's here as well. What's on? Or Carco. See, Omar, every time I struggle, I need a phonetics lesson so I can say your name. Omar K. Omar K is here. Welcome. Uh, at least U.S. market caps were way high. EU never really peaked after 2008. Yeah, so Pines was zero. I think it's a big correction. I don't think it's a bad thing. I was actually talking, you guys will find this interesting. It's tax season here, and in owning a business, I have an accountant. I was talking with my accountant. He said, yeah, Mike, this was Saturday. This was yesterday on the phone. He said, I've got a handful of high net worth clients. Strangely, he didn't group me in that number. But I was talking to my high net worth clients, and he goes, all they're trying to do right now is find money because they're excited that this is a buying opportunity. They see the markets correcting, diving, and they're confident it's going to come back. They're not worried that this is a death blow, that this is going to knock us out. So they're remortgaging their home or homes plural. They're cashing in all kinds of assets they have so that they can get cash to buy. They want to buy stocks and other assets because they think there's a sale going on or will be going on. So that tells you what the wealthy are thinking. The wealthy see this as an opportunity. And if you got a couple nickels to rub together, you might consider trying to snap up an asset or two, a stock or something at a discount. Let's see. Pines with Zero reminder innovation video, dude. I've not forgotten. In fact, I'm going to do multiple videos on innovation. I've got to free up time. I've got this. I always tell my clients that strategy is the process of deciding what you're going to say no to. And I had to look in the mirror about a week or two ago and say, dude, you're doing so many different things. I've got a podcast. I do the YouTube channel. I do my consulting work. I've got a couple other significant projects, and then there's the other stuff you volunteer, et cetera. And I realized I need to just start saying no, not to other people, but to myself. I need to cut some of my projects out. YouTube is not going away, so don't worry. This is part of the core. But I've got to start saying no so I can free up some time and do some things that are important, do them better. Steve Koss, my university moved all lectures online for the remainder of the semester. Same for my daughter. Ned in studio saying USA made this virus. We made the virus. Do you believe that the USA government, or is it just that the Americans are filthy and don't wash their hands enough? Or do you think that we made it and then kind of spiked the punch, as they like to say in China? So do we try to lay this on China? Is this like some type of covert warfare? And why would we make it and then look at what it's doing to us? It's like we're all getting hit for this, so I don't know. Yeah, Ara's bummed about Formula One. Same here. NWA Saba can't predict what will be the scenario. Economic collapse was the case with all these closed businesses. I really can't understand. It is nuts. I think people are overwhelmed, and I think they're overreacting. But that said, smaller businesses, if you run a restaurant, if you run a small business, a design studio, take your pick. This is going to be a hard hit. You can be confident, but if everybody else panics, you're in trouble. Small businesses often don't have the deep pockets to say, we'll just suck it up and try to get through this thing. So let me take a look here. Anonymous says, after some research, flu is actually more contagious than COVID-19. 32 million cases since September. The media could literally make up a virus and use the flu's numbers, and people would go apeshit. Yeah, I think you're right. And here's the other thing. And again, this isn't like a conspiracy thing. It's just observation. I think, at least in America, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I do think there are some similarities here. The populations across the various nations on this globe are living in a heightened sense of anxiety lately. You've had mass exoduses of immigrants, whether legal or illegal, a lot of political turmoil, not just in America, but America. You've got global news sources. People are connected all the time. I think that people are just in this constant state of exaggerated anxiety and frustration and anger and stress. And so you get something like this and it just pushes them over. This isn't like the days where people got out, did their farming, talked to their neighbor, maybe read the newspaper if they could read. Not that that's a golden era. I mean, people died young then. You lost a limb. I mean, it was a bad time to live back then. I'm not trying to lionize it. But on the other hand, we are living in this kind of exaggerated sense of anxiety and stress these days. And then any little thing seems to send us over the edge. It's just not healthy. I love social media. I love being able to do YouTube, sit here and do a live stream. So I'm not anti this stuff. but we got to admit to ourselves, we allow ourselves to be manipulated a whole heck of a lot. And when I say manipulated, I don't manipulate it. I don't just mean information-wise, like they're lying to us. We allow our emotions to be manipulated. We allow our thoughts and feelings to be directed and manipulated a lot. Sometimes it's on purpose by bad actors. Sometimes it's just kind of the way things are going at the time. But I like to believe that the people on this live stream are independent thinkers. If you guys are resourceful, independent, maybe a little cynical about some things, and willing to ask some tough questions. And quite frankly, even if this thing is as bad as they say, we're going to get through it. This is what people do in societies and communities. Italy, Spain, America, Canada, England, Australia, you got to treat your neighbor right, you know? I think once we start seeing what this really looks like face to face, because right now we're hearing about it on the news, we're all kind of holed up in our houses, we're worried, at least I'm in New York, it hasn't hit us full blown yet. I think once we see what this looks like, when it hits us, just like when there's a power outage in this region, we work together. And I think we'll start working together. We're going to get through this thing. And yeah, it's going to suck, but we're going to get through it because we're better than this. So that's that. Anyway, Alexander Capital, what niches do you think are going to be profitable in this period of pandemic? Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? If I gave that some thought, I'd have some good answers. I mean, some things come to mind off the top of my head, but I don't really know at this stage. It's not clear to me. It's easier for me to come up with like who's going to hurt the most. I mean, obviously, we talked about restaurants. I think anybody that's doing marketing, digital marketing, in my space, like as a consultant, I've got some great clients that are solid, but if my clients really take it in the neck, often, not my clients necessarily, but they're like, hey, I got to cut back. Well, where do you cut back? You cut back on marketing. So, I mean, there's some areas that are going to be hit pretty hard, but I'm not sure yet where the smart money's going. That I don't know. That's why I'm not one of my my accountant's high net worth people. Hey, I eat well. We do okay, but I'm not in the high net worth group, I'm guessing. We don't have multiple homes. I'll just say that much. Yeah, you didn't know that you'd find Formula One fans here, Anonymous? Dude, I'm telling you, we've got the greatest little community. We got some cool people in this group. And you got Barcelona, you got soccer fans, you got Formula One fans, and so on. Let's see here. So, Ara, this is what intrigues me. The regular flu since October 35 million, 15K to 30K death. No one talked about that. Well, that's it. I mean, the normal flu is a huge killer. It always is. And that's the thing that's a little questionable. I'm not saying that COVID-19 is much ado about nothing, but 30,000 dead since October, that's kind of a big deal. I mean, I haven't pulled that statistic. I'm just reacting to yours. But there's a lot of talk, it says Pines with Zero, about a crisis in the EU. How do you talk to clients who get cold feet and consider chucking advisors, external experts as a preemptive measure? I haven't had to do that yet, but typically what I do in my consulting engagements, I'm always trying to frame the consulting around value. And what I mean by that isn't, hey, I'm valuable, look how valuable I am to you, but I'm focusing first. I always do that firstly, secondly, thirdly. I don't know why. I focus first on what their problems are, like where's the pain. I try to be like a doctor. I'm pushing like, does this hurt? Yeah, this hurts. Then I'm helping them assess it. I think this is why it hurts. Here's what I prescribe. Here's what I'm going to do. And if I do this successfully, this should be the result. So it's not always fixing a problem. Maybe it's driving revenue or, fill in the blank. But I'm always focused on applying my services and my work and contextualizing it within real problems that they have and real goals that they have, and then real measurable, valuable results. I try to quantify that on the front end. What that does, I think, when you get into a situation where things are difficult, cold feet, questionable, it allows us to go back and revisit that and say, okay, first of all, it frames me as a problem solver and a value creator. And second, it allows us to frame or to revisit and say, is this still an issue? Are we still on track? Does this still matter? Because if it does, it's easier to make an argument as to why we should continue to invest in this route, because it might help overcome. Or because I've framed myself as a problem solver, do we need to rethink the engagement that addresses the more current situation? How can I help you through this? So I'm very engaged. The other thing is I'm selling to the owners and CEOs of these businesses. I'm not selling to middle management. I'm not down the line. So that kind of does insulate me a little bit. I am not bulletproof to this, but it does insulate me because the owner slash executive, chief executive is hiring me, and I'm working with that individual to help the company accomplish whatever goals are at hand. If you're working with like a middle manager, well, then you're in trouble because that person has other things they're trying to do, and they might cut you because they're trying to show their boss that they've got their budget under control, etc. So that helps a little bit. But that's how I address it. You have to address this way before. It's like, how are you positioned in the company? What value are you creating? How are you perceived, and who are you working with? And I think if you get those things sorted out ahead of time, then it's easier to have that discussion. Now, at the end of the day, the owner can say, look, Mike, I love you, and I think you could do all kinds of great things, but right now, this is the decision I have to make. And then you have to say, look, I get it. I'm here to support you. And if and if I've got to bleed a little bit to help you guys win, then let's do that. And then let's make a plan to circle back around when this thing's over and get back to good work. So that's how I do that. And we'll see. I'll keep you guys informed how this goes for me. I'm actually going to be shifting gears and doing a lot of prospecting. I've got a full book of business right now. I'm not looking to push out clients that I have, but I just want as much momentum as possible so that if things do get bad, the shoe drops, I've got some momentum going in the business development side of what I do. So, good questions. Now see, so a lot of kids at your school have flu-like symptoms, yet they tested negative. Interesting. So they've got symptoms, but they don't have COVID-19. Since COVID-19 wasn't public, we didn't even think of that. I'm pretty sure my school is already hit, and we're all fine. I bet you're going to be fine, Maya. It's one of these things that, like, I don't think it's hit Maine too hard yet. And if you got out of school and it shut down, you've probably avoided it, and you're going to be good. It's some of these, like New York City and Washington State and Los Angeles. Now, my wife just got back from South Africa. She was gone, some of you will remember, for 6 weeks. I picked her up from the airport on Friday. She got in just as Donald Trump was shutting down traveling from Europe. She was coming out of South Africa. She flew direct from Cape Town into Newark. So I wasn't so much worried about her going through Europe, but I was thinking Newark's got to be like a petri dish. Newark's got to be filthy. So I thought, well, she's going to get home and we're going to get the COVID, but it is what it is. I'll take the COVID to be with my wife. That's the things we do for love. I'm just glad to have her home. Let's see what we got here. So Ara and Anonymous are having a great discussion around Formula One and soccer. That's great. Michael Russo, nice. Hey, welcome, my friend. Was supposed to go back to Denmark next Sunday and would have even driven, yet borders are closing down in Europe. So you got to do what you got to do. Boy, isn't that the truth? And I got to say, I'll go back to this. You got to do what you got to do. That is the attitude that gets us through these things. You do what you have to do. I think of generations that were separated by wars. I mean, Europe, America, we went through world wars together, and sometimes across the border from each other, but we went through. People did what they made do. You make do. You help your neighbor. You make do. You take care of your family. We're going to get through this. We really are. I think it's the economic piece that we should be thinking about, because we got to get this engine back up and running after this thing is blown through. The one thing I'm kind of curious about is, so let's say it blows through. Let's say I even get it. Are people getting reinfected? Do we know for sure that once you get over this thing, you're good? Is it like the chicken pox? Or can you get it 3 months later? Because what I'm curious about is, okay, we're going to have this thing. The world shuts down. Everybody takes it in the neck. We get through it. Do we get to come back out to normalcy, or is this the new normal? Is this thing just going to keep cycling through, and is it going to be like a nightmare scenario? Now I'm peddling fear, but will this thing keep changing and mutating and getting harder and harder? I don't know how these things work, but man, that'd be a great Michael Crichton book or Stephen King book. These guys are still putting stuff out there. Brian Gaston's doing some prospecting as well. Yes, see, great minds, bro. It's like, gotta do it. Let's see. 110. You do not agree people are dying. Give me a little bit more. Like, explain what you're saying to me, buddy. I'm not going to argue with you, but I want to understand. You mean you don't agree this isn't a big deal and people are dying, or you don't agree that people are dying? give me a little bit more. I just want to understand where you're coming from. Let's see. So I've got a message held for review. It's just someone spamming. Hey, love you, but gonna just hide your message. Sorry, buddy. No spam. Pines to Zero. Mike, it's a bit of language barrier on my side. I know prospecting as a mining activity. I assume it's in marketing, it's something else. Oh, I'm glad you asked that for clarification. So prospecting is really a sales activity. So a salesperson, we call it prospecting. It's analogous, it's a metaphor with mining, which means in mining you're digging for, let's say, gold, you're prospecting. So a salesperson is prospecting, they're looking for new customers. You're out there kind of looking for new prospects, as we'd say, people that you want to sell to, do business with. So you're prospecting, that's just the act of out there trying to find new business and identify new customers and hopefully get conversations going. So it's analogous, metaphorically speaking, which is redundant, to mining, but it's just the sales activity of trying to find new customers. Let's see here. Mike Russo, it's like the flu, which means you won't be totally immune. My wifey tells me. Yeah, she's probably right. So qualifying and prospecting. Yeah, so what are your thoughts? I mean, I'm here rambling on about the economy. Maybe that's what We110, he's saying he doesn't agree, people are dying. Maybe you're saying, because I'm saying, look, I don't think the health part is the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue is the economy. And maybe you didn't hear my whole comment on that, but you're saying you think the most important thing is the fact that people are dying. And I agree with that. I'm not trying to downplay the fact that people are dying at all. So, Pines to Zero, how do you start doing that? Extensive desk research and Pestle, I don't know what Pestle is, or do you visit the market players in person? I tend to do a lot of research. I have different ways of doing it. I tend to be more of a hunter. So I tend to do more research, be more focused. I take my time, kind of figure out the target, do a lot of research on them, figure out an entry strategy. I do that, but I do have kind of a broader net approach that I can apply as well. I kind of have two ways of going about it. But I don't do cold calling. I'm not just like knocking on doors. I don't do a lot of networking, cocktail parties, schmoozing. I kind of hate that stuff. I mean, I like a cocktail. I do a cocktail party with you guys. But I don't really do a lot of the kind of typical networking and handshaking stuff. I'm more like a hunter. I like to hunt. I like to find the right place, identify the pain from my perspective, and then reach out with some type of strategy to get in there to say, hey, look, let me talk to you about fixing that or helping. That's kind of my approach in broad strokes, but yeah, cool stuff. So I guess my big question right now is how long is this going to last? You know, how long are we going to be, I'm supposed to do like a client trip in a week. I'm guessing that's going to be postponed. I've got a speaking engagement in early May. I was getting paid to do a nice a talk on brand story, the power of brand story, the power of narrative to give your brand an advantage. I was excited about that. I'm wondering if it's a big statewide conference. I'm wondering if that's going to be shut down. So I'm just kind of sitting wondering, like, how long is this going to last? That we're all kind of just putting things on hold, but we'll have to see. Michael Russo, the folks that are truly going to suffer are in transport and services industries. That's right, airlines, restaurants. Increasingly here, all this is closed or canceled. Also, some manufacturers are closing. Yeah, it's tough. It's not a minor thing. NWA Saba, health is also an issue. This COVID attacks in 90 minutes and kills right away in some cases. Now, you're in Iran, if I remember correctly, and you're seeing some of this stuff, NWA. So I've heard Iran's had it really bad. Anonymous, with the growth rate of this virus, 70 to 80% of the population will get it. In fact, you probably have it right now. Herd immunity exists, and it's how we've survived since the dawn of time. Yes, the herd. The herd. Omar K, I'm sure that this year will be filmed. We got WW3, Corona, and now everything is shutting down. That's going to be an interesting year. It sure is. So, Michael, you think we're looking at a couple months of hunkering down? A couple months of Netflix? Hey, I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. I want to share a book with you that I read recently, and I'll share the idea, but essentially I was skimming. Do you guys use Flipbook? Flipbook's like an app on the iPad and the iPhone, and you can like it's essentially like an RSS reader, but you pull in all kinds of articles on different topics, etc. And I was going through Flipbook, and I don't remember what magazine I was reading on Flipbook, but somebody mentioned a book called How to Take Smart Notes. Has anyone heard how to take smart notes? By the way, Brian, you watched Outbreak last night? Here's the thing, I'm not watching any of these movies about outbreaks, apocalyptic anything, end of world doomsday. I just don't need the stress. I don't need the stress. It's like watching a monster movie. I'm just not interested. Anyway, I read this, so I grabbed the book. The book sounded really good. And the reason I grabbed the book is I struggle, I don't know about you guys, I do a lot of reading, a lot of nonfiction reading, and I learn a lot. But I struggle to take that learning sometimes and to create content from the learning. I feel like I've got all these thoughts in my mind. I read things, I underline, dog ear, like I've got a whole system for when I read a book, how I mark it up and how I kind of, capture. There's a guy named Ryan Holiday. He's written some books, and he had a whole index card system where he'd copy the quote in his index card box and he'd just add it. And every once in a while I'd go through his index card box. But I was doing all that different stuff, but I struggle to take this great content, which would spark all kinds of thoughts and ideas, and then actually write something. Say, hey, let me write an article based on some of the things I'm writing. And I had this sense that, by the way, Anonymous says I'm inspiring him to start a business. Buddy, you should totally start a business. Totally start a business. I think owning a business, running a business, creating your own magic is just one of the greatest things in the world. If it's the right thing for you. It's not for everybody, but if it is, boy, it's such a great thing. So I had a sense that something was missing. I thought maybe my process is wrong. I'd try things where I'd say, well, let me write 500 words or 1,000 words a day, so I'd write every day. And I did this one time for like 98 days or something, and you know what I had? I had 98,000 words, which were essentially just a journal entry. I mean, like for almost 100 days, I wrote 1,000 words a day. But when I'd sit down to do my 1,000 words, I'm like, I don't know what to write. Let me just start it with a journal entry. I just struggled to create good content. And I thought, what's wrong with me? I used to be able to write articles. Why am I struggling? And I've got ideas up here. I know how to communicate relatively well. I like writing. Why am I having a hard time writing content? So I read this book called How to Take Smart Notes. It's written by a professor named Sonny Ahrens. And he's a German professor. And essentially, he's kind of sharing something that he learned from a well-known, in the German-speaking world, well-known sociology researcher professor by the name of Nicholas Lerman. And Lerman had this kind of, they call it a Zettelkasten, like this kind of slip note box, essentially. Kind of think of like a library card catalog. But I want to share 3 things that I took away from the Smart Notes that really helped me unlock maybe what's missing. And there's 3 things. So one argument that the author made is that you have to learn how to interact with something to learn it. If you want to learn a piece of information, underlining it in a book isn't good enough. Dog-earing it, even writing the quote on a card and putting it in a file box isn't good enough. You have to interact with it. You have to engage the content. And so the way that you do that is you write about it, not after you've thought about it. You try to take this concept that you're learning and write it in your own words. You kind of force it to become part of yourself by engaging with the content on the front end. You don't think about it and then write an article. You sit there as you're reading and you try to write this thought out in your own words, in your own way of thinking about it, as opposed to just copying what the author said. Secondly, he argues that you need an external system for storing your information and for contextualizing it. You can't keep all these things that you're learning in your mind. They're just disparate pieces of information, so you gotta just find a way to store them externally. Now, this Nicholas Luhmann, he would store them on note cards in this filing system that he created. But essentially, he would write this thought in his own words. He'd think about how this piece of information affected his line of thinking and the research that he was doing. And then he'd kind of notate and make links. He'd connect his cards so the topics were kind of connected. And then lastly, I'll just, Stefan Folk says, you can't write because you have nothing to say. Now, Stefan, that's just not a nice thing to say. I mean, I'm here talking for 45 minutes to an hour, and you've been here the whole time, so clearly I've got something to say. Dude, that's harsh. Oh my gosh. Hey, Mike, take it easy. Michael Russo gotta go. Love you, man. You stay safe as well. Vita saying to you as well. So I'm just gonna. But Stefan, shame on you, man. That's just low. So I'll just finish this up real quick. So you need an external system for storing and contextualizing your information. So it's just not chunks of data. And then lastly, he says, if you want to write something useful, then let it be emergent. Don't pick a topic and decide what to write on. As you're interacting and engaging knowledge, as you're storing it in a contextualized system, let the topic kind of bubble up. As you're linking and contextualizing over time, you're going to say, I've got a whole collection of thoughts on a certain topic, and they work together, and now I've got something that I can write about. The hard work is done, and now it's a matter of preparing it in a way that's consumable for your audience. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I'm going to maybe do a little write-up on this and maybe a video at some point in the near future. I'm actually working on an article about it. It'll show up on my website, mikegastin.com. And if you haven't done so already, I don't know if you guys know, but I've got an email list if you're ever interested. Throw your name in the email list. It's not a spam thing. I'm not selling anything, not yet. I mean, maybe someday I will. But every once in a while, I'll shoot out an email sharing some content that I've created, maybe some thoughts that are useful. Probably get a little bit more active with that at some point in the near future. But sign up for it. Just go over to my website. It's at the bottom of the page, www.mikegastin.com. Anyway, end of commercial, but thought I'd share that. Let's take a look here. So Stefan, you got your jab in there. What else we got going in the comments? Storing notes, all require time, not to store them, but to go back over. I record. Yeah, that's the thing. It takes more time when you're reading to digest and interact with the material while you're reading. But the upside is, after you've read it and you've taken the time to put it in your own words, then you own it. And then you've got it in this kind of system where you're storing it. You can retrieve it and create content much quicker. So you're still going to spend the same amount of time, but you're going to get a better result because you put the time in on the front end. And isn't that like life? I mean, if you put the time in on the front end, usually the back end's a little bit more pleasurable. All right, let's see, Stefan. But true if you think about it. It's a quote by Jordan Peterson, though. Look at his writing guide. Google it. It helped me a lot. You know, and Stefan, that's the thing. I mean, I don't disagree that it's hard to write when you have nothing to say. But I would argue that it's not so much I guess I'd ask the question, is having something to say enough to write deep content? I could write all day long. I can give you the 10 steps on this, and here's a marketing tip on that. But that to me is not valuable. I want to write deeper essay level work, deeper thought provoking content. That's hard to do. And, you know, so I guess the question is having something to say enough to produce a great piece of work? And I would argue no. I think there's a lot of skill and effort and systems that come into place, but it is possible. I just have nothing to say. I'm just a blowhard, Stefan, but I'm glad you're here to listen to me bloviate. Pines with zero. As an advisor, how would you peg the priority of various advisors of a company? Is revenue generation the top concern advisors are used for, or is it strategy, financials? I think, my perspective is that often advisors are brought in more for strategy, and here's why. I think a lot of clients, companies bring consultants in, bring advisors in to kind of give them affirmation on what they're already thinking. A lot of companies bring in a consultant because they've got some ideas of their own, but they want someone from the outside to come in and confirm that idea for them. That's really, they often, these aren't my clients, I'm just saying in general, I've noticed, they're not saying, tell us if it's good or bad. They might say that, but what they're hoping is that the third party, the consultant, will come in and confirm some of the thinking that they've already done, or help them feel more confident about the directions that they want to go in. It's kind of like a gut check. It's like getting a second opinion. They're worried that they're too insular, too inward looking. They're worried that they're missing something. And they want the consultant to come in and say, yep, you're on the right track. Now, they don't just come right out and ask for that, but I often think that's the case. Now, I think a really good consultant, and I think really smart companies are looking for more than that and provide more than that. I think that they're looking for someone to really help them solve a problem, maybe develop something, solve a problem, innovate, and that's where the really fun work is. So I think it depends who's doing the hiring. Again, this isn't to knock middle managers, but I think middle managers want something different from a consultant than a C-suite executive wants. And I think a middle manager is maybe looking for a little bit of CYA, which in America means cover your rear end. And so the consultants come in, they confirm what the thinking is. That gives the manager a chance to say, hey, look, we went outside, this really smart group of people, this smart gal, she came in and told us that we were right, and so we've forged ahead. And I think that's what happens often. Not always, but often. Stefan, and you've been there having nothing to say. Yeah, dude, and I know, I mean, I didn't take your comment as an offense at all. It is remarkable, it's funny, but I had to have a little fun with it. I think we've all been there at times. You said, yes, I've just disproven myself then. Yes, you need content. So think about what you want to say, and then one, write down what you know, or two, do some research. Well, there we go. Pines Zero, we sometimes say EBC, external blame catcher. Yeah, see, it's the same concept, external blame catcher. You can point to that external blame catcher and go, yeah, see, I asked Susie, she told me this is what we should do. She's the expert, you know, and we listened to Susie and it blew up in our face. Yeah. Ara, writing is a therapy towards what life can throw at us. Absolutely. And, you know, the thing is, I should explain, I'm talking about nonfiction, and I don't mean not, like, you could write a journal, that's nonfiction, obviously, but like if you want to write a position paper, a white paper, a research paper, an essay on social situations or, you know, dynamics in a business strategy, those can be tough. It can be tough to create a really thoughtful, well-done paper. And you guys, if you're not into writing and don't care, don't sweat it. But this How to Take Smart Notes was phenomenal. It's like one of the best books I've read in a long time, which is saying a lot. And it's only 150 pages long, 151 to be exact. The type's a little dense, easy to read, but Professor Ahrens does a fantastic job, and it's worth the $13, $14 that I paid for it. And I've been putting into practice, and it's been fruitful so far. Alexander Capital, I'm considering to do consulting job from home. That info is gold. Well, Alexander, if I can ever help you, just get in touch, man. I love seeing people get into business. It's going to be an interesting time. I am curious for people that want to go into business right now. You know, I'm in it right now thinking, okay, what's this going to mean for me? Because when you're in business for yourself, you have to get up every morning and make the magic happen. No one's paying those bills unless you figure out how to make some magic happen. That said, chaos creates a lot of opportunity. And I'm curious for people that are thinking about starting right now what this whole, I was going to say Ebola virus, this whole coronavirus, what it's doing to the economy, the chaos that it's creating. I think it's going to create opportunities for some people. It's going to be a death blow for other businesses. It's going to create serious health issues. I think it calls into question some of the global project. You know, we're told to trust the global leaders. We're told to trust the global corporations, that they've got this all figured out, and we're safe if we just keep our nose to the grindstone and keep consuming and enjoying ourselves and minding our own business and paying our taxes. I think we're seeing a little bit behind the screen on this, and we're seeing they don't know what to do either. They can't always keep us safe. It's, like being able to do business globally is not a bad thing. I just picked up an international client the other day, and I love it. But on the other hand, this whole kind of global we are the world story, it's a story. And some pieces of that story are true and other pieces are not true. And I think we're seeing some of the weak points in that story. We're seeing some of the lies behind that story. And it'll be interesting to me to see, what people end up doing for themselves. This is maybe a good time to kind of take stock and say, do I want to take more control over my life? I can't stop a sickness. I can't control the economy. But clearly, when you're in business for yourself, you have a clearer view of what you're truly facing. An employee could be let go. You could walk into work tomorrow. None of us are walking into work because we're all working from home. But if you walked into work tomorrow, you could be told, I'm sorry, we're letting you go. Now, they could have known that for 2 months. You never knew it. You're just minding your own business. You bought a new car. You're putting your kid through college. You're just living life. When you're an owner, you kind of see that thing coming 2 months down the road, and you can start preparing and do things to head that off. Now, that said, it's not easy. It is not easy being in business for yourself. I've had some fantastic highs, and I've had some brutal lows. But I still wouldn't trade it. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, but I would not trade it for the world. Yes, Stefan, Sankey Aarons. How to take smart notes. You got it, man. But you don't need to read it because you got all the answers. Actually, if you like to write, I would highly recommend, and if you like to read, if you're a reader and a writer, you should totally check out this book. It's worth every penny. How long did it take Pines with Zero to ramp up enough clients? I imagine word of mouth, relationships, marketing is a core biz development mechanism for an advisor. Yeah, I think my sales cycle is a minimum of 6 months, from first contact with a prospect, someone that I would like to do business with, to actually being in a position to close a piece of business. Now, it can go quicker. Sometimes you get a smaller project. I might get like a little $5,000 or $10,000 project, and it's quick. It's like, hey, can you help me with this? I can help you with that. Let's put together a quick little, let's have a discussion, little proposal, and we're off to the races. But to land the larger engagements, especially with a new client, can take a minimum of 6 months, and it sometimes takes longer. It can take 9 to 12 months because those discussions start slow. There's a process of getting to know each other. There's a process of research, and these clients are, these aren't necessarily. I'm not solving the kind of problems that are like, hey, we need to fix this today. I mean, they're important issues, but they're longer term challenges. They're more strategic, they're more far reaching, and so I might be focused on a longer timeline. It's a bigger spend, and it's not as painful or as emergent, but the upside is higher. So for me, it's a good 6 months, if not longer. I usually plan on when I have to do prospecting. But that's the nature of my business. If you're doing digital marketing, you could probably land a client in a matter of weeks. You could meet somebody for coffee. They can tell you that they're trying to get their sales funnel going. You can give them a couple tips and pointers. You can get an audit. You can get them to pay for a $2,000 audit, the next day. And you might have a monthly retainer, a week or a month later saying, hey, we're getting $2,500 a month and we're going to do these things for you. So, it just depends where you are in the consulting continuum and the level of what you're offering and who you're selling to. Let's see here. My t-shirt matches my background. That's not a good thing. I'm probably blending into the background. I didn't even think of it. This is what I've been wearing, and I just thought I'm going to jump in. I'm a little disheveled today, but no suit. I'm a suit and tie guy. Like when I'm with clients, I'm wearing a suit all the time, but I figured for this, you guys weren't going to bust my chops too much. Amir, how you doing, man? Have you have very bad voice loudness? Mine issue. So is it too soft or too loud? Is it hurting your ears, or you can hardly hear me? Because I think the volume is up pretty good. I don't know what others think. Let Amir know. George, all the best from Austria in full lockdown. We are only allowed to leave the house in urgent cases. Yeah, George, this is serious, isn't it? Even if you don't get sick, this is kind of a real thing. Audio issues are global. Wow, I didn't realize. So is it bad? Like, is it still static? I thought the audio got better, so I apologize. I had no idea that the audio was still bad. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. I'll work on that for next time. Trust me. Ara, doing global from personal experience, one needs to learn their cultures, habits, and must. They actually teach that in the military. Agree. Alexander, the virus tragedy is terrible, but on the flip side, it made me think of how I could make more money out of this. Stefan, you will? Okay, great. Amir, financial tech-based service have the most growth potential in this global situation. Yep. I'm sorry that you can't hear my voice clearly, Amir. There's some issue, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like some of the cables. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do some research for the next live stream, so I apologize, guys. Let's see. Pauline, will wait while you change. What do you mean? Now, okay, so I'm missing you. Oh, well, I changed my shirt. I'll just do it on the live stream. That'll be the new live stream. I'll get banned by YouTube because you'll never be able to unsee me without my shirt on. I would never do that to you. There's enough horror, enough stress, enough ugliness in this world. Yeah, I have to like yell to my wife, "Hey, bring me another T-shirt, please." Yeah, audio has corona. It absolutely does, George. The audio has corona. I apologize. I hate this because I've always wanted and always worked hard to get good audio, so I'm not sure. There's something in my system. You know, I'm going through the Shure SM7B mic. That goes into a soundboard, which then, or sorry, the mic goes through a preamp, which goes into the soundboard, which then goes into the system. I'm not sure what the story is, but something here is not happy. I'm not sure what to tell you. I keep fidgeting with cables, hoping that'll help, but it's not helping. All right, so let's see. Stefan says the audio's okay. Earlier for 10 minutes there was no issues, maybe a loose contact. I'm wondering, and I keep like touching the, I keep touching this, so I don't know if I'm fussing with it and causing a problem. Not in front of the camera. Yeah, I won't. Pauline, trust me, I would never do that. Those days are long gone for me. You know, maybe when I was 17, 19, in my 20s, maybe. Not now. Not that I would show off, just saying, you know, I could do it in front of the camera and I wouldn't have to be ashamed of myself. But, you know, life changes and it's not about this body's not going to last forever anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. Neon Banana, voice is clear, some earthing issues creating static. Yeah, I'll have to figure that out. You're right, it might be a grounding earthing issue. And does this live stream save after ended? Yes, Amir, I'm gonna it'll publish live, so you're welcome to watch it afterwards if you missed some of it. So guys, I think that's about it. We've been at it for about an hour. This has been a blast. I have loved having you guys on as always. I love the conversation. You know, I was just having a cup of coffee early this morning. I'm like, you know, I should do a live stream. So this wasn't really premeditated. I just thought I'd jump in the saddle and have a good chat. I missed you guys, and I thought it was time to get together. You know, and since we're going to all be kind of locked down in our houses and waiting for this thing to blow over, let's do this a little bit more. You know, I don't mind doing this once a week, and we can stay in touch that way. But I want to tell you how grateful I am for this community. I'm really grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your comments and in your encouragement. This is a blessing. It's fun for me to have your friendship and the time together. So I hope that you're all well. I want the best for each and every one of you. I want you to be healthy. The people that you love and care about, your communities, your companies, your nations, your societies. I pray the best for everybody throughout this thing. And let's help each other how we can, even if it's just to encourage each other to keep our chin up. Sometimes it's all you can do, but sometimes that's what it takes. It's just having the right attitude. So guys, God bless each and every one of you. I love you guys, and I will catch you in the next video. Adios.